just really proud of our football team. And I think I'm not proud because we won. I'm proud because I thought the way that we answered adversity and showed resilience throughout that game and even before the game. And there's a lot of different adversity that was faced. We were coming off our first loss. And anytime a team loses that first game, you always hope the response is determination and a greater work ethic and not discouragement. And we really had a great week of practice last week before Syracuse. We overcame that bad snap. That could have been a 2-point, made it a 2-point game, and we were behind. And the effort that Chuck Argenzio showed on that play to recover the fumble, that is one of the plays that nobody's talking about. But, Chuck Argenzio was just a heat-seeking missile from the 25-yard line, and how he ended up with that football, I'm not sure. But that was just a great, great effort play. And I also give Garrett Wilson credit. Obviously, we don't want any bad snaps, but I've seen so many times in games, it's wet, the conditions are tough, your first snap like that happens, and then the second one and the third one and the fourth one. And to his credit, he was really good the rest of the day on all of his snaps. We didn't get that 4th and 1. We fumbled the ball, they recovered it. The next 2 times in the red zone, we scored touchdowns. We ran the ball much better in the red zone than we did the week before, and I thought we responded to that adversity well. And, our defense, we gave up that big play before the half, and they could have taken the lead. And the very next play, Amari Henderson gets the interception, and then our defense throws a shutout in the second half. And Syracuse is a very good offense, and they move the ball against everybody. And in the second half, the conditions were good. I mean, the weather wasn't bad, and our defense really stepped up. And at times they were dealing with a short field, and every time we needed a play, they stepped up and made one. So it was a really good team win. I thought all facets contributed, and again, we're really proud of all the hard work our guys have put in. But like every week, you move forward. And certainly moving forward this week, we've got a great challenge, but also a great opportunity against really one of the elite college football programs in the country. Florida State has certainly been one of the dominant programs in college football over the last 5 years, 20 years, whatever. Coach Fisher has done an incredible job of recruiting and coaching. And every year they're a national championship contender. Offensively, as always with Coach Fisher, they're really good. He is really an excellent play caller, quarterback developer, offensive coordinator. They've got good players, but every year he does an incredible job. They're so diverse, all different personnel groups, very multiple with their schemes, and he utilizes their talent extremely well. They are one of the best coached offenses that we face every year. And, they've got a big physical offensive line. Guys are athletic. They have a collection of receivers, Rudolph, Whitfield, Wilson, that are all playmakers. You could certainly make an argument that they might have the best tailback in the entire country, in Dalvin Cook. He didn't play much against us last year, but when he did, he certainly did a lot of damage. And, I think their backup, Patrick, he's 6'1", 231. There's times they'll play both those guys together, and he's a guy that would probably start for 90% of the teams in the country. So they've got 2 excellent backs, and Francois, the quarterback, is a future star. I mean, he just makes throws beyond his years. He anticipates windows. Some of the tight spaces that he throws the ball into is incredible, and he throws the ball well in the run. And he's also a versatile athlete. They'll run him. They'll do some quarterback run with him. They'll run some quarterback lead zone or stretch, and he is a very dynamic playmaker. Defensively, their D-line, the tackles are all 300 pounds. Certainly DeMarcus Walker is one of the best defensive ends in the country. He does a lot of different things. He plays as an end. He'll play inside. He blocks extra points to win games. One of the very, very best players in the ACC. the linebackers are very active, very athletic. They can run things down. And as always, they're really, really good in the secondary. And they can press you up and man you up. And again, just their ability to close space because of their athleticism is different. So again, we're excited about the challenge, but we have to have a great week of practice. And we'll have to play at a very high level down there. But our guys are excited, and we're looking forward to the challenge. Any questions?
It's always a challenge, Dave, obviously, going down to Florida State. The fact that they're 4-2 and really, really need to win really, really bad, does that make it a different challenge?
No, Dan, because, to me, it's always, we don't control that. We don't control their record. We don't control that they just beat Miami. They've had one of the toughest schedules in the country, and everybody they've played, I think everybody they've played on offense, with the exception of their 1AA game, is a top 50 offense. South Florida's a good football team, and they beat them by 20, and Ole Miss is a good team, and they came back and won that one. So they've played really good teams, and obviously last week's win was huge for them. So they beat an undefeated Miami team on the road, and came back to do it.
Some of the keys to your team having that balanced offense by getting the running game going against their front seven?
Well, you got to block them, and you got to sustain blocks. And and last year we ran the ball against them early, and then they started just playing us in man. And then you got to be balanced against them, because they have the ability to outnumber the box and press you up and force you to throw the football. And that's where we're going to have to be balanced. If you're one-dimensional against Florida State, they'll chew you up. If you're one-dimensional pass, those guys on the D-line will tee it up and get in those wide stances and just come after you. And, so we're going to have to run the ball. Any game that we've played well on offense this year, it's because we've established the run. And this game will be no different. And it's on us, but you also realize the better teams you play, the margin for error is smaller. And so we're going to have to play really well up front against these guys.
We were talking to Ty before the game, and you and I talked about it. You blocked Indiana really, really well. You blocked Duke well, and you blocked Syracuse well the other day. But you have to prove that you can block the elite defenses in college football. That's the test this week?
Well, if elite defenses, Indiana,
well, there you go.
they were a good defense, Dan.
Yeah.
People weren't moving the ball on them, and so again, are they elite? I don't know what's elite. Statistically, Indiana was ranked ahead of where Florida State is. Now, Florida State has played Ole Miss and Louisville, and what I'm saying. So
defensive fronts.
Yeah, just because when we have success against someone, it doesn't mean they're not good.
Right. Okay.
I think our O-line has played well, probably 3 out of the last 4 games. We did not play at the level we'd like to against NC State, but we certainly did last week. We certainly did against Indiana and played really well against Duke.
What sort of mental and physical preparations do you give this team going to a stadium like their experience Saturday?
We go to NC State, that's loud. We played in Clemson last year, that's loud. We played in Louisville, that was loud. So our guys have played in loud stadiums, and we pipe in you heard it, right? We pipe in the band and the fight song and all that stuff, and at the end of the week they get so sick of it, but we want them to be conditioned to it. You try to make that stuff a non-factor. So during the week you pump in the crowd noise and you make all the nonverbal communications happen that need to happen. And so that when you get to the game, that becomes less of an issue. It's something they've had to process with. But the challenge this week is who we block, who we got to get off blocks against, who we got to cover, who we've got to separate against. They have elite talent. They really do. So, but again, I think our players. This is one of the reasons guys come to Wake Forest. We recruit guys that want to play in these games. We're in a great conference, and we're in a very, very good division in that conference. and we've got a handful of these games a year, and we want guys that are excited about it.
How did you come out physically from the Syracuse game? Any new injuries?
I don't think so.
Good.
I think we came out of it in pretty good shape. We're probably healthier now than we were 3 weeks ago. And then after this week, we have the bye week. So then hopefully you heal up and you have a chance to make a stretch run.
To that end, I saw that Kenton was in the pit today, Kendall was in the pit. And, any consideration just about giving him another week and having the week off?
You know, Dan, if he can go, he'll go. But right now, it doesn't look like he can go. You know, I mean, knees are different things. You know, a lot of times if you have an ankle sprain or you have a shoulder strain, you can kind of predict it. At his position with that injury, when it's better, it's better. You know, so, you know, you asked me when it first happened how long it would be. I mean, your guess is as good as mine. He feels better. He's progressing. I don't think he's there yet. And, you know, so it's not a matter of, geez, do you give him another week or 2 weeks off? You know, if he could go, he would go. Right now, he can't go.
Going back to the bad snap against Syracuse, to the safety, and then for the fumble at the goal line, you guys responded well off of that. For this game, for Florida State, you think it's more important to limit those mistakes, or is it more important for you guys to respond well to mistakes like you did against Syracuse?
Well, football's not a perfect game, so we're going to make mistakes, and you hope the mistakes aren't that big. You know, a lot of times if you snap the ball over your punter's head and they recover for a touchdown, you don't recover. A lot of times if you don't score from the 1 yard line and you fumble, you don't recover. I don't know if we can afford to make those type of mistakes against this team and come out winning. So, but we're not going to be perfect. We're going to make mistakes. You know, hopefully we don't turn it over, but if we do, we have to respond. And that's just the nature of football. So, you know, those things are going to happen. That's part of every game, but we don't want them to happen.
I think I got my answer on Saturday night and also today's practice when, you know, I was thinking about John's shoulder. He said he's fine. You said that happens, but you know, and I saw him in practice today. He was going full speed, so there's no real concern about John's shoulder.
No. I mean, he's, you know, Dan, I just, you know, part of it is, you know, you get into the season and he throws a lot of balls and,
Yeah.
You know, he's been splitting reps with Kendall and now he gets all the reps. And, you know, so we, you know, usually on Sunday try to give those other guys some reps and try to get them ready because Kyle Kearns is a snap away from playing. But John I believe he took all the 1 reps today. Yeah, so he's healthier now than he was a week ago. So he came out of the Syracuse game healthier than he did the NC State game. He took a lot less hits.
Tough kid.
That's an understatement. That is an understatement. And he is, and it's not just his ability to play when he's banged up. It's that when he gets hit as a quarterback, you don't see him short arm it. You don't see him throw off the back foot. He plays the next play like the last play never happened, even if he got hit. And that takes a lot of courage. And I think, you know, last year, how many times did people say, well, you know, with John's a passer, Kendall's a runner. You know, it's not fair to John. He played with a high ankle sprain all last year. And I think now you're seeing that John has speed and has athleticism, and he can run the football too. So, I mean, his touchdown run, I mean, he pulled away from the safety.
I want to do something on your cornerbacks. Your cornerbacks, the way Amari played, you talked some about it after the game. Looks pretty stable right now. Last year you patched it together, Dave. And
We patched it together?
Yeah.
I don't know if it was ever patched.
Well, you took
Yeah.
it together. And this year you don't have Amari starting the season because of the, you know, because are you as stable there? Are you feeling as good about that as you felt the last couple of years, Dave?
It's like anything in football, Dan. It's a week-to-week existence.
Okay.
So, you know, did I feel stable after the Indiana game? No. I will give Amari a lot of credit. After that Indiana game, he had a great week of practice, and I think the last 2 weeks he's played well. But whenever you say, hey, it's stable, we're all set, that's the kiss of death. So as always, and will always be in football, we're a work in progress. But those guys, I think, have improved, and they're getting better. And Amari played really well. And it's again, and that's why I say I'm proud of our team, and because all the responses that need to happen, Amari not playing well at Indiana, and instead of getting discouraged, working harder, and now he's put together 2 really good weeks. So he should start getting some confidence. Our team's ability to respond from a loss. Garrett Wilson's ability to respond from a bad snap. I mean, that's very important in football, that you're resilient and you come back. And I think there was a feeling in our sidelines the past 2 years when something like that would happen of, okay, here we go again. And the ability within the game or within a season to bounce back from those things is really important.
Along those lines, and talking to several members of the team over the last few weeks, everybody kind of seems to have bought into the Dave Clawson mentality of going 1-0 on the week. But I would argue that you talked about going 1-0 on the week the last 2 years as well. Has winning and kind of getting that locker room right kind of helped you get to the point where your whole team's saying that now?
I don't know. I think part of it, I think it was different this year in terms of, I think the expectations of our team internally and externally were a little different this year. I think there were a lot of articles written of, is this the year Wake gets better? Is this, and we just said, guys, ignore all that. The only thing you can do is go 1-0 that week. So don't look at the schedule and say, well, this one we should get and this one will be hard. It's not the way it works. Every week's a new season. Every week has new challenges. This guy's out. This guy's healthy. It just, you don't look at the season as a whole. All you do is focus on that day and that week's opponent. And if you do those things, all the goals you have take care of themselves. The second you look ahead and start, well, this one we can get and this one's going to be hard, it never works out that way. So we just try to ignore the noise. And I felt this year, the week before the first game, that there was a little bit more anxiety because I think for the first time our players had expectations. And you can't play a whole season in one day or in 1 week. And so I think I talked about that a lot more in the preseason this year, that our only goal, guys, all through camp is to become a 1-0 football team. And obviously when it works, they start listening a little more. So, but that's the goal this week. And, you got to put the win behind you, but you also got to put the losses behind you, which sometimes is tougher.
One thing I was impressed with was actually receiving core, because those were very tough conditions, and they made some very difficult catches. I know Bachman's one on the sideline, he basically picked that off the ground. And then you had Tabari made a good catch, and then of course Cam made a few good catches.
Yeah.
So they really did well in adverse conditions.
Cortez made some really good catches on the sideline. And obviously the weather limited the offense a lot. There wasn't a lot of far throws or field throws you could make, so it very much became a boundary tight end slot game. And even Chucky Wade's catch and the move he made on the last touchdown was a great open space move. Those are the plays that the last 2 years we never got. That you had a guy one-on-one in space with a DB and he broke him down and he made it a good play. And then we had the penalty, which gave us the 2-score lead. But I thought Cortez Lewis managed the elements extremely well. I think he caught everything. And given the conditions, that was really important.
Now that you've had a chance to look at the tape, how do you evaluate Marquis Lee's performance on Saturday?
Markel Lee's performance, he tackled everything.
That's what I was saw.
He tackled everything. He really did. I watched the tape and, whatever, they had 60-some plays. He had 15, 1 out of every 4 plays he was making a tackle. So you eliminate the incomplete passes, it's probably like 1 out of 3, 5.5 for loss. And he did not play well against NC State. And that was another example of a guy responding to a disappointing performance with, maybe his best performance ever. I don't remember ever having a linebacker with a stat line like that, but it was legit. That wasn't Steve Shutt up in the press box trying to inflate stats, which everyone else in the country does, not at Wake Forest because of the honor code and the high moral character of the school. We don't inflate statistics here. He tackled everything. It was unbelievable watching the film. I watch defensive film and I always make notes. I'm like 8 sacks. So. All right, thank you.